Um, we have an extra person up here that I did not know we were going to be having. So why don't you take a moment and introduce our third man here?
Okay. This is the man. This is Michael McDowell. He played the lead character Josh, and it's a phenomenal guy.
How did talk a little bit about finding your lead actor? Was it a lengthy casting process? Did you know him previously and wrote this specifically for him, or how did that come about?
Yeah, that's a great question. We had open casting calls for 3 or 4 weeks here. We held them at Wake Forest, and put ads out in the newspaper. The Journal was thankful for them to run ads for us, and we put up on Craigslist. Kind of scary, I know. And so we didn't know who we were going to get in to cast. We wanted to cast all locals and people in the area, and Michael's mother and father, they're in the audience, and we want to thank them too for their dedication and commitment to this film. But Michael's mom had read the ad in the newspaper, and she said, well, you should go audition for this film that they're shooting in Winston. Maybe you could be an extra or something like that. And so he walked in, and he's 18 now, but he was only 15 at the time, and he was wearing this Slipknot t-shirt with sleeves cut out, walked in like he didn't give a crap, and had no previous acting experience, hadn't taken any classes. He was a competitive soccer player since the time he was 3. Looked at the side that we gave him, cold read, looked up and connected with us. And we tried to convince ourselves that he wasn't right for the part because he was way too young at the time. But so we put him through a series of really, really tough callbacks and had him read with a lot of different people. And every time it was him from the beginning. So he grew his hair out, we gave him a lip ring, and he just did a phenomenal job. So.
Absolutely, yeah. I know you mentioned it's been 2-3 years since you actually started photography on this. So talk just a little bit about the journey. What were some of the challenges along the way that you made? I know that's changed titles even since you began, so talk about that journey a little bit.
Sure. Do you want to talk to that at all? Or?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like this. We have one man show up here, but so we filmed this in 2012 and 2013, and actually rewrote some things because you cut it together, and some things work, some things don't work. And we cut a significant part of the story out towards the back end, and we were missing some pretty key plot points, and so then we refilmed scenes in August of 2013, 7 months later. And so there's we had to re-dye his hair back to blonde, and he had grown up quite a bit. You may have noticed, you may not. If you haven't, great, awesome. So then we recut those in. And just post was a long process, just trying to find the story. Generally we like to stick to the script, but this was a story where, just several things, just kind of his performance for one, and we really just discovered this was about him. There was a bigger social media component in the original script, but it just wasn't interesting, and so we just kind of, what you see is what we kept in. And then, applying for film festivals and waiting to hear from them, and finally getting a really good premiere down in Florida, and things just started rolling, so.
Can we ask Mr. McDowell a question?
Yeah, please.
Talk about, how many times have you seen the film? Is this the first time you've seen it with an audience, or?
This is the 5th time.
5th time? What's the experience been like, just maybe even here today, seeing it with a packed house and hearing the reactions?
It's great. It's like amazing to see how many people came out, and just thank you everybody. It's insane how many people recognize and want to come out.
Get a Snapchat.
Social media, here you go.
Well, I don't want to hog the whole conversation. Let's throw it out to you guys. I'm sure you have plenty of questions you want to ask. Anyone? It's right here.
I'm curious, with that kind of, obviously it's a kind of a forced lifestyle, homeless, so it's kind of like a random kind of decisions that happen throughout the movie, but how do you kind of come up with the ending of the movie with a composition like this?
Sure. Well, when we wrote the script, we realized we didn't have a shelter to film in, and we were a month away, and we were kind of freaking out because half the film takes place. But this is based on a true story about a friend of ours, and he stayed at Samaritan. And so we approached Sonia Willis, the executive director and the assistant director at the Samaritan shelter. We knew that it's a very private space. A lot of the residents that were staying at the shelter at the time were actually in the film, and we're very excited to be in the film. But one of the things that we really hit on was that we wanted this film to be cyclical in nature and kind of address the cyclicalness of homelessness and chronic homelessness. And we talked how this story begins and ends in the same place. And they were all for that kind of idea and theme. And so that's how we got there, yeah.
Right here.
Was the young boy an actor before?
Oh, Michael?
Not Michael, no. The young,
Oh.
the son of the woman.
Yeah, Parker was actually here last night for the screening, and he's a twin. But it was just Parker. His twin wasn't in it. But yeah, he's been in some stuff, and he auditions quite frequently in Los Angeles and New York. But he's based out of Charlotte. So, and we I think had approached the casting agency about the little kid because working with kids is tough, and you got to find someone that can just understands the business and can do the long days and so he came and auditioned, and he our hearts were just warm to him because he was fantastic.
It was very good.
Let him know that.
I think it's a very cool thing that we have a husband and wife kind of producing, directing partnership. If we could, I'm curious to hear from Tiff. Had you always wanted to be involved in filmmaking, or did he kind of draft you into it, or how did that? And what is your role? What's the dynamic kind of in the process?
Well, Clay and I met in college, actually, so a while back ago. Got married about 7 years ago. And he went off to film school, and I went to school as well for higher education. So we both got masters at Florida State. And I like to say that I got a film degree by association because I was on set a lot so I could see him. Because otherwise you wouldn't get to see, if you know anyone in film school, you don't get to see him unless you're a volunteer or just kind of hang out around the set. So I hung out a lot, and then I really got to know the craft of filmmaking. And then when we moved here to Winston-Salem, we both had jobs at Wake Forest, and we decided to make this film. And my job was doing a lot of event planning and coordinating, and it really relates really well to the filmmaking world. And so I just decided that I would produce for Clay, and so we just kind of started doing it together full time about a year ago, and this is what we do, and we love it. And so we're a good team. Yeah.
Other questions out here? Oh, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No.
Okay.
What was the meaning of dyeing Josh's beard at that point in the film? Was there a meaning behind that?
Yeah, there's a quick and brief line where Crystal says to him, some people just want to change their look. They get tired of looking in the mirror every day and seeing the same thing. We kind of see that recurring motif with him, after sleeping at the Waffle House and other places where, he's just becoming more and more just distressed. And so for him, it was just kind of making that kind of change and also kind of going light to dark and sort of a kind of foreshadowing just how the film is going to kind of end more on a dark note than a lighter note. So.
This is a silly question, but did you intentionally move the ring from one side to the other at one point?
That's a good question. We did deal with that a lot, but I think if we were shooting at a mirror, probably for the scenes that you saw, it was changed. It's a great question, because actually Tiff last night, she said, the lip ring is on the right side. I was like, well, we're looking into a mirror. So, but yeah, great question though.
I have a question up here.
Okay.
After you spent all this time, both in the production of the film as well as acting in the film, what reflections do you have about the situation of homelessness in Winston-Salem?
Well, we can all kind of address that in our own way. I think for us, we got to spend a lot of time at Samaritan, and it is a wonderful place. The wraparound services they provide, the staff, the volunteers, it is a place where true community happens. The residents are playing chess, they're praying with each other, they're eating together. Our crew got to eat meals with the shelter residents while we were filming. The soup kitchen was kind enough to offer us food, and we said, no, we can't do that. And they said, no, please, we have plenty. And so our cast and crew got to integrate with the staff and the residents while we were there. And what we discovered is, especially working with the real Josh, it just takes getting to know that one person. And homelessness, there are a lot of people that are actually here in the audience that work with the homeless every day. And I don't know if there is one solution to solving that problem, but we do know that if you spend time there at Samaritan or Bethesda or any of the other wonderful places that Winston provides, you'll get to meet real people. I think there's a stigma and the stereotype that all homeless people are drug addicts or alcoholics or they caused whatever issues that made them get to that place. And some of that may be true, but a lot of these people, we all deserve second, third, fourth chances. And a lot of these men and women are looking for these opportunities to find that one person and to empower them. And so a lot of times what we found being in a shelter is you go there to give something, but more than likely they're giving you something much more precious back. So that's kind of my take.
I'd just say like just a general awareness of the problem and just, you know, how we can just look at the person beside us and maybe just show a little bit of kindness and just, I don't know, I feel like that might be lacking nowadays, and just maybe it could be solved just by seeing other people and not just yourself.
Yeah, I would just, kind of jump onto what both of them said, and I think our intent here was to tell one story, and every story is different, and every situation is different, and so we just wanted to tell this story and show, one side of it, and that Josh really didn't deserve anything that was happening to him in the film. He was just, had a lot of hard knocks, and a lot of homeless people also are one step out from it and one step into it, and so that one medical car accident or divorce or whatever it might be can put you in a place that you never thought you would be. So we're not all we all feel so safe as Americans, but we can all hit hard times, and so it's just about us being brothers and sisters to one another, and just seeing people making the invisible visible again. So.
Yes, right here.
Since the film ended on a dark note and it's based on a real Josh, what is his fate right now? Where is he? I mean, can we ask that?
Yeah, she asked, where is the real Josh right now? And, the film does end dark, but we wanted that Moravian star, which is so iconic in this community, to be kind of a symbol of hope, that even though he does end up in the same place, he's going to do it again, but maybe do things differently. But having said that, the real Josh is actually doing well. He lives outside Lexington, North Carolina, so he's out of the shelter and moving on up, so he's doing great.
Has he seen the film himself?
Not yet, but he's going to, yeah.
What do you imagine that will be like?
I'm not for sure. It's, we've been talking about that quite a bit, because we kind of took his story, and, Josh is very country, loves country music, and is very different than Michael, but when we cast Michael, we didn't want Michael to try to act like Josh. We wanted Michael to be Michael, because that's what we liked about Michael. And so we kind of took the heart of his story and then kind of created a new character out of that. So, and he knows that, and so I think he'll love it. Yeah.
I think he'll love it.
Yeah.
Was there another question right
I
over
just
here?
want to know how you became acquainted with the real Josh, or kind of how you learned that story.
Well, I'm going to give a great plug-in for Centenary United Methodist Church, because, as you know, it's Patterson and 5th Avenue we came to learn was what was called Homeless Highway. And that's mainly because there's a lot of resources along that stretch, soup kitchens, the public library, the bus station, where the homeless can go and come in out of the cold and into a shelter of some kind. And Centenary is one of those locations that they offer an incredible program with their youth once a month called Love Thy Neighbor. And so they invite a lot of the people in, and for 3 or 4 hours, and the youth share meals with them. And so Josh was coming to that event, and we were involved in a Sunday school class, and someone in our congregation directed him up and said, hey, you should meet these other young people your age. I think you really get along. So he came up, and he looked normal. I mean, didn't look like he was living out on the streets or at the shelter. He just had this giant backpack with him that was just stuffed. And that was the only thing that seemed strange. And after prying into him for a long time and saying, hey man, where are you from? What do you do? He said, well, I'm staying at the shelter down on Patterson. It broke our hearts, because it's like, here's this kid, same age as us, and we get to go back to a warm home and loving families, and this kid has absolutely nothing. So we just developed this friendship with him for over the course of a year, and then he asked us to help him tell a story. So.
Up here.
Kind of a complicated community question, but the public library played a feature in the film, and it's not a resource right now. And I know that's kind of a difficulty in the community as far as where do you point people who need help. I was just wondering if you guys had any thoughts, anyone in the audience had any thoughts? Computer access, communication.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, I work for the county. When we closed the library, what we essentially did was we, actually a shorter distance is the library at East Winston there. And so we're seeing the homeless go to that facility, also to the one off Harvard School Road. And then really, a surprise to us has been Remover Manor branch, has actually picked up some of the homeless. So, we tried to do it that way, and then, I think some of the other downtown, facilities have tried to fill in. So, we'll have a brand new facility hopefully in a year.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yes.
I'm wondering how the homeless people at the Shepherd Center find their way to Hayes Walk. How do they get there? Do they walk?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, it's been different showing it here in this community because a lot of people know the geographic proximity, to downtown to the mall. It's forever. And but because this is a fictional film, you almost have to kind of like bridge those gaps. Because anywhere else we would show it, they have no idea what the proximity is and just assume it's walking distance or something like that. So that's a good question.
But to answer with the real Josh, he had like a 30-day bus ticket, and so he would ride the bus. Which Winston has a great bus system, so that's wonderful.
And to get from the shelter like that to Renova, or they just walk up to Hanesbrand?
For the library, is that what you're?
We don't know, the bus was not up there, but it was surprising to us because the Norway Jordan facility, the peer support specialists we have went to the Norway Jordan branch, and so a lot of them followed that research.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Either of the Joshes play the guitar?
Actually, yes, Michael does, and the heavy metal, progressive metal, that you hear in the progressive metal. Okay. That you hear in the film is actually Michael's part of a band called Exotopia, and they're actually phenomenal. So his music was actually featured here in the film. So he's very talented. Hit him up. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to congratulate you on an incredibly powerful film. I mean, having seen back in college The Bicycle Thief and, making films with non-actors on the streets and all that, and I think the thing that strikes me the most is just the deep level of empathy for all the people that you don't see that much necessarily in a lot of movies, and, God knows it's lacking in our society today. So I just want to congratulate you on a wonderful movie.
Thank you so much.
Adding on to that, I'll say that I'm a person that does not sit still very well. I'm not a TV person and take me to a theater. But I found myself sitting here twisting my hands at times, thinking, oh, gosh, what's going to happen? And I do appreciate, like you said, bringing everybody's attention to the homeless, because we need people to think more about that. They are humans, but we need more good films to make people think like this. And thank you.
Thank you.
did a great job. We really need it.
Well, we're going to be around afterwards, so if anyone has any questions, I want to say again, thank you to Winston-Salem and North Carolina. This is a great community for the arts. I don't think we've ever been a part of something that's been so supportive, so thank you all so much, because without you, this film would not have been possible. And we'll be around to answer more questions, and thank you to River Run Film Festival for putting on an incredible week-long plus event and making this a great time for us. So thank you.
Thank you all for being here as well.